Let's kick this off. So welcome everyone to the final installment in our 3LT Playbook webinar series. There's been 3 up until this point, and this is number 4. And this one is frankly the most fun one for us because it's all about trading psychology. And that's the stuff that more and more so we feel ourselves more drawn to talk to. It's the most relevant. It definitely seems to be the topic that's resonating most with all of our audience out there, with all the traders that Lucci meets in person at all these meetups. It is the thing that most people struggle with. So that's what we're talking about today. I'm Charlie Bathgate. I'm a partner here at Lucci Trading, and no need to introduce Lucci himself. And let's dive into it. Let's get after it. So one of the things that we are talking about, let's back up for a second. The third law of trading is learn yourself, right? In the 3LT Playbook, which you can check out at 3LTplaybook.com, Lucci breaks down and distills the most important concepts for his trading career into 3 laws of trading. And these are the things that if you want any shot at making it, you have to be able to do these things. You have to do these things. And the third one, the most important one, is learn yourself, right? So know thyself, understand your mind, understand your relationship to your environment, understand your relationship to the markets, understand your relationship to yourself. And there's way too much. We can't cover all of this in a single, obviously, 45-minute webinar, not possible. But I think one of the things that we're going to focus on today, we're going to kind of drill down into a single component of this. This is something that Lucci goes really deep into in the master course. But one of the things we're going to talk about is non-attachment, right? And Lucci and I were talking about this topic leading up to today and in preparation for it. And there were 2 stories that we had talked about, and Lucci has maybe shared one of them publicly, but I don't know if you've shared both of them publicly, that sort of illustrate this and illustrate the interplay between your personal life and your trading life, and what happens for you, what's going on for you personally, and how that affects you in trading, and vice versa. So Lucci, do you want to talk about the one with your girl first? Maybe that's the place to start. And then, so we'll do the non-trading story first.
Right.
And we'll go to the other one.
Right. So, I mean, just to preface this, I mean, you know, how many of y'all have difficulties with your relationships? And I don't mean, you know, a significant other, spouse. I just mean in general, right? Sometimes you have difficulty with your relationships depending on how you're trading, correct? So if you're in, let's say, a down slump or something like that, you have difficulty maybe maintaining relationships. Maybe you just want to disappear off the face of the earth and you just kind of want to go into seclusion while you figure out how to, you know, get yourself back on track. You know, this story will definitely bring about some past things that may have happened to you, you know, that you can kind of use this sort of as an example. You know, there's all sorts of times where our trading, you know, has a large effect on our relationships, and vice versa. There's a lot of times where your relationships have a huge impact on how you trade, what you trade, when you trade, the energy that you bring to the stock market as well. But in keeping with the theme, we're talking in particular about attachment. And one attachment that many men, I think, are afraid to share is that they get attached, right? Many men, I think in general, maybe, you know, maybe this was more 10 years ago, Charlie, but would it be fair to say that men didn't want to admit when they got attached to a girl, right? Like we kind of, was there a point in time where we didn't want to admit this stuff, right?
Absolutely. I think especially for men, attachment is seen as something, if you're saying my happiness, my well-being is dependent on something outside of myself, like a woman, then that's a weakness, right? You would, the stereotypical strong man is like, I don't need anybody, I don't need anything.
Right, right, exactly. And we know that's bullshit, right? I mean, there's some men that are generally, I think it's even written in their DNA as well, that they get attached quickly. For example, So that used to happen to me when I was kind of growing up, and after you've had several relationships, you start to slowly kind of figure things out. But there's a way that we all have relationships, a way that we all deal with relationships, that kind of says something about your character. My particular relationships were always quite toxic. Toxic in the sense of, a lot of arguing, a lot of, and I always thought it was somebody else, but finally I realized like it had a lot to do with my own ego, my own expectations, all that kind of stuff. So the story that Charlie's hinting to is that I started a relationship in Puerto Rico, and she moved in. She moved in. The plan was for her to live there basically, and for us to start a whole kind of vibe together. That was the intention. We had met maybe last year, September, I want to say, October, September, somewhere around there. And things were going well. Things were going really well. And sometimes when these things are going well, you just kind of let them blossom into whatever the hell they're going to blossom into. You don't know where the shit's going, and you just kind of, you roll with it and see where it all takes you, right? This one escalated very quickly because, she was able to get things out of me that no woman was really able to get out of, simply because maybe I let this one in, more so than anyone else. I don't know what it is. Then we went to Costa Rica to do ayahuasca. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what ayahuasca is a plant medicine, basically. It grows in the Amazon, and it's been there. It's been growing there for thousands of freaking years. I don't know, I guess since the existence of the damn rainforest itself. And now, quite often, people are going to Peru, Costa Rica, places like this to do this medicine, to work on themselves, to work on things that, they can't get past in life, find their purpose, all kinds of other shit. So fast forward, we do this trip. She happens to find out her purpose is in Ecuador. She is from Ecuador, and she decided her purpose is in Ecuador. And because of what we learned, because of all the tools that we learned, because of the man that I am now, all the things that I've learned thus far, I didn't put up any resistance. And the reason why we wanted to tell you the story was that my attachment before to all these other relationships that I've had, if this would have happened anywhere else, I would have been throwing up, I would have been sending the guilt trip her way. I would have been sending, I would have definitely, made her cry for even thinking about this kind of stuff. Probably said some horrible things that I didn't mean, and it would have went into that direction where you guys know how you end up in these sort of pits of I can't come up with the word here, Charlie, but it's like that nothingness. Yeah, like something like that, where you just kind of end up in these places where you just kind of sticking around in these relationships that neither party at that point wants to be in, or maybe one party just wants out, but is only staying because they feel guilty, because they feel that I don't know, they feel burdened or something like that, right? That's what I would have done before. And I have done that before because my ego couldn't lose, right? So if anything, it had to have been me, the one saying, that's it, this is done. But if God forbid it was somebody else, it was like, hey, listen, that means you're telling me there's something wrong with me, and there ain't nothing wrong with me, baby. There's nothing wrong with me. If you're telling me there's something wrong with me, I'm jumping down your fucking throat, and we throwing down right now, So I think this story is very relevant to the argument or the discussion of attachment, because I was able to get so much out of the relationship, and then allow it to just pass, right? And then allow it to just go wherever it was going to go and wherever it's meant to be, and without the attachment of needing it the way that I wanted it, right? I mean, it's like she's ready to move in, I'm hyped about it and all that kind of stuff, and you're able to look at it for what it is. You're able to enjoy it while it's there. And then when it needs to go for whatever reason, you let it just pass. And it's a very important lesson in life, in trading. We'll get to the trading in a bit, but Charlie, that's the gist of it right there.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about. And I mean, I can attest, we lived together in New York for 2 years, working together, living together nonstop. And, I know this man extremely well. I saw him running around New York, like always intertwined with one girl, multiple women, like, a lot of stuff happening. And, I saw, like any human being, you create stories around relationships. I do that. We all do that. You meet somebody, you care about them, you start falling in with someone, you start telling yourself this story. This is how it's going to be, right? This is how this is going to go. We're going to, whatever that story is, we're going to move in together. We're going to have kids together. Whatever the direction is, that your fantasy, you create these things. And then inevitably when those things crumble, when that changes, when something happens, because it always happens, it never plays out exactly like the story in our head. That is when attachment tends to come in for a lot of people. And you become so fixated and so attached and so threatened by change and threatened by something unexpected that you fight it. You fight reality. You fight what is actually happening in front of you. And you fight and you miss out on so much of the lessons of what you can learn and the benefits of the situation. And you're just fixated on this one outcome. And that's
technically you ruin a future possible future as well. You ruin future possible positive energy from that particular relationship or that entity or whatever. Maybe it's a business too that you're attached to, and then it's all different types of attachment. And a lot of people have attachment to expectations. They got attachment to all kinds of different things inside of a relationship that they manifest in other ways, and they fucking throw it at each other. And then I'm a fighter. Like, that's one thing that I figured out after doing the ayahuasca, right? Like, the medicine just it was working through me for the whole 4 days to just show me how ingrained in attachment and how ingrained in fighting I do. So you guys can see where this is fucking going. I mean, we're going to give you an example from the personal level. And by the way, like, not that many people know that story, and I'm choosing to throw it out here, in the mix. It's going to be on freaking YouTube. Usually I'll pull some of these stories out for the people who take the master course, but I got tons of stories at this point. So I'm also at the point, that's another form of attachment too. How many of you guys are attached to your this idea that if people know these things about you, they're going to think less of you, or they're going to think differently of you, or, you might have to speak to the shit later. Like, there's so much attachment we have to the way we act, the shit we say, the perception, most of all, the perception of us, that you don't even want to tell these stories. And nobody wants to fucking tell these stories, especially traders, especially hyped up, egotistical, 90% male ass traders. No, none of y'all want to talk about this shit. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, this is the same type of attachment, whether we're talking about attachment to a person or attachment to a trade that went sour. It's fucking attachment.
And that leads us, so some of you might be sitting here being like, what did I just wander into a fucking Buddhist lecture? Like, what are they talking about right now? And we're about to bring it full circle for you, because those two things are very intertwined. So Lucci last month, and I'll let you speak to it more, but you guys have seen his monthly P&L reviews on YouTube, on Instagram. You've seen this, but he had a point last month where he was up 200 grand, which is a great month. It's pretty in line, maybe a little bit more, with a lot of the consistent months that you've been throwing up on a very frequent basis. And naturally, you were like, all right, telling myself a story. Maybe this could be, I don't know. You tell me what kind of where your head was going when you were sitting at that point, and then what happened, but then your reaction now.
Yeah.
How that reaction has evolved.
So the trades go as they usually do. And whenever I'm sitting in a loss, there's always a period in which I reflect, like, okay, how long can I let this go before I can start? Like, what do I need to do to hold on to this so that I can find a place to hedge and I can find a place to average in and then get the hell out of it, right? So this has been my, this is our struggle all the time. Whenever we're sitting in a loss, what I do is I go into hedge mode, I start hedging, and then as long as I'm hedging well and I'm doing it correctly, I should be able to stomach the losses until I can take the core position, add to that shit, let it fly the other direction, and then I'm making my loss back plus the money that I made on the hedge. Therefore, the shit evens out and I'm fucking good to go, right? So when you start feeling that things are not going, there's always a point at which you start feeling where shit's just not going right, right? So your gut instinct, and guys, sound off if you know what I'm talking about. Your gut instinct throws you the signals, right? There's a signal that your body actually sends to you, whether it sends to you through, it might happen up here. Most people, it happens in the gut. Like most people, the shit happens in the gut. So maybe you got to take a shit or something, like, I don't know. Maybe you gotta get it out like some other way, but it manifests in some shape or form physically in some kind of a signal from your body, mind, or somewhere. And then I get that, the shit's flashing, Charlie. This shit is just flashing, and it's like, listen, motherfucker, this could get pretty ugly right here. And there was a point at which
this is the Netflix. This is Netflix.
Yeah. So I was short. My bad. So I was short Netflix before the market tanked. Obviously, you guys are sitting there thinking, well, dude, if he was short Netflix, the guy would have made a fucking $1 million. Before the market crashed, Netflix had reported earnings. I shorted everything, right? And I was doing great. So that was part of the 200,000 in gains. So I was able to book some of that. But then I started getting heavy on, some call rights. And then the thing ripped 30 points in my face, legit. While it was going up, I was trying to hedge, but I wasn't thinking, I wasn't expecting what the market was about to deliver to me. That's what happened. And then I had to make a decision whether to hold it overnight when Amazon and Google were going to report earnings. So I was already down a good 60, I don't even know, 80 grand or something like this. And when, you got to take that risk overnight like that, that's a big fucking risk to take, So, and by the way, previously, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, I would have held that shit, Charlie. I would have held that shit. And I would have attached myself at the hip, and I would have gone down swinging and fighting and all that kind of stuff, and then ended up making a whole nother mess. We'll talk about that in a second.
Right.
What happened was I burned the whole position. I took the whole damn thing. So I had a $200,000 month, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at my month like 60 grand. I felt like a jackass. Of course I felt like a jackass. And then the next day, Netflix didn't do shit. And my instinct, that same gut thing that happens. My gut is like, dude, sell it again, sell it again, sell it again. Just fucking sell it, bro. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I had taken the losses. So now you have to deal with the attachment to the losses. You got to deal with the attachment to the trade. And now your mind's all fucked up. It's just fucked up. So that's what happened. Right now, in a previous world, in a previous dimension, which, by the way, we move in and out of dimensions literally every month at this point, Charlie.
And this is a dimension that we have lived in together for many years.
So warping into that dimension here real quick, what would have ended up happening is that I would have went into a tailspin of losses. I would have fought it. I would have tried to get more aggressive back into it. Maybe I would have fought it in another direction. And you guys know the deal. How many of you guys go into a tailspin after you take one, let's say, outsized loss, and now all of a sudden you're looking at either a blown up account or maybe a 30% drawdown or a 40% fucking drawdown? Like, you guys know what I'm talking about. Instead, what ended up happening was, hey, okay, I got my ass kicked here. And I got to make a choice. I can make a choice right here. I can trade with that same energy and I can trade with the, you know, depressive mind state that I just got my ass kicked. I could trade with the energy that, oh my God, I have to make it back. I have to make it back because I was always attached to what, Charlie? What was I always attached to, baby? The P&L, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that 7-figure, that 10, that 10,
exactly.
that 7-figure
That's what
trade,
I
that
was
10 million.
always attached to. So you know what I would do? I was always attached to where I was P&L wise. So how many of you guys have been up X, Y, and Z dollars on a trade? You get attached to that number because remember, in your mind, you're already living a life assuming that you made that fucking money, right? So you get attached to a life with an extra $200,000 in your motherfucking pocket, right? So after you lose that shit, of course, if the attachment is to the dollars, you're going to do whatever you have to do to get it back. That includes risking your account, risking whatever the fuck, risking it all. Fuck it, because you got to get back to this place because we ain't thinking straight, right? So this is what's called, you know, being able to look at it as, hey, you know what? This ain't no thing, man. I just got to come to the market with the same energy, with the fresh energy, with an energy that is not consumed with the loss that I just took, and I'll find the fucking money. I'll find the money, and literally within the first 2 days, obviously you guys saw this market absolutely tank. There's so much volatility out there. I'm already up the $2,000. I'm already up the money that I lost, and then some here.
Right, and that's,
You know,
I mean, I take three like tangible takeaways away from that. One is that like even for someone who's put in as much time and constant work at the self-improvement and is at a really absurd level in this game, there's always room to get better, right? You were just talking about like how you, when you got out of the position initially, you could have the next day potentially got back in on the short, and you could have, you know, flipped the other way,
yes,
and you missed it, and like that's
yep.
always going to be there, right? So the self-improvement, the journey never ends, right? Cliches are in that regard are all true. Number two is that where you're at now, you were able to come back and be present for the market in, you know, days later, and save yourself the agony of missing out on a shitload of other trades, not just like revenge trading, not just the losses, but you were able to actually see the opportunities that were coming down the pike and just be there fresh and have that perspective on it. So that's,
I mean,
number
that's a
two.
huge, that's the other point to make. So how many of you guys have shot yourself in the foot, and then there's an opportunity cost to that energy that you have now. So now you have now you have the anger. Now you have the sadness. Now you have now you have the fight or flight kind of mentality where you got to get back. You got to get back. And now you're fucking up all kinds of opportunities that are sitting there just saying, hey, the market is literally saying, hey, dude, forget about this shit. I got this right here for you, baby. I got what do you want? What do you want? I got 10 things for you here, right here. That's all you got to do. That's it. They're right here, right in front of you. But you can't even see them because where are you stuck? You know where you're stuck. You know?
Right. You're looking at your screens, but you're not actually seeing anything on your screens. You're seeing your ego, you're seeing your insecurity about how fucking angry you are about missing out on something, about what people are going to think that you don't, because you don't have those numbers, about, you know, sitting there stewing about what you could have done differently in the trade over and over and over in a way that's ruminating. It's not productive. And we're not saying this to be, you know, critical or be on anybody's high horse. Like, this is just human nature. This is part of what you have to evolve past. But I think the third takeaway from this, which is maybe the most important, is the effect it has on you in outside of trading, Luch. Like, it used to be that when you would have trades like that go against you, when you would have losses either from a gain that turns into a loss or just straight up losses, it would send you into this place that was dark. And I could, you know, working with you, seeing your friend, you know, being your friend, hanging out with you all the time, like you were just wrestling with those trades all the time, even when you weren't trading, like in your conversations, going out with friends, whatever, it was just, those monkeys were on your back. And now, you know, we're not saying you're the Dalai Lama, but like that effect is so diminished. And at the end of the day, even if you could make all the money that you're making right now, but you were still walking around with those monkeys on your back in the same way that you were in the past, what the fuck does it matter how much money you guys are making if trading is making you that miserable? Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. People don't ask themselves that question enough. And that is one of the things we push you to really assess and think about. in the master course. I talked about this with Ron Friedman, who was a guest teacher in the course last week, and gave him props because he's incredibly good at recognizing who he is in real life, his personality, his risk profile, what makes him uncomfortable and comfortable, and then translating that into his trading so he's not walking around miserable all the time by virtue of the fact that he decided to trade. And if we were to teach you guys how to trade, how to read tape, how options work, market makers, habits, market structure, all that stuff that we do teach you, but then we just teed you up for a life of misery, no matter how much money you made, like what are we doing? That's not sustainable as a trader.
And by the way, that's what everybody in the business does, by the way. Like, nobody is invested in your fucking mental future here, people. Nobody is invested. And nobody even like, you think your broker is going to have a conversation like this with you like that? You think your broker gives a motherfuck about you? You're just your number. You're a number. You're number X, Y, and Z with $10,000 in their account. And you're gonna get blown out. You're gonna put another 10,000 in. You're gonna keep putting another 10,000 in. They're gonna send you emails like, hey, Jonathan X, Y, and Z. We saw that you were blah blah blah, because you're just a number. That's it. But in reality, you're fucking people with all kinds of shit going on. And this is what we realized. We were like, yo, listen, if we're gonna be like all these other cats, then yeah, we could just sell you the information, tell you to go fuck yourself, and then hopefully and then just detach ourselves from wherever you were. But now we're attaching ourselves to you, because why wouldn't we? You know what I mean? Because that's just if we're gonna give you this information, like, it has to be about so much more than just law number one. I mean, you guys went through the whole thing, right? So your law number one, you learn the market. Law number two, you learn the noise. And then law number three, you're here talking to me. You're here talking to me on some real shit. Because if you don't figure this part out, or if you don't think about it, bro, I'm not even gonna, I'm an asshole. I'll say it like it is, but the odds are against you. You know what I mean? The odds are very much against you. They're very much stacked against you. That's what your broker is gonna play for. And that's all your broker cares about. Your broker just wants the odds to be stacked. The whole market is stacked against you. So if you're gonna play this game, you're already at a fucking disadvantage. And if you don't have law number three, if you're not even thinking about it, as Charlie said in the beginning, like, what shot do you think you got? What shot do you think you got?
And it's like this it takes a long time to master anything, trading included, and to give yourself the best shot to have a long runway to actually be able to do this with endurance. Why not make it sustainable? Why not reduce the absolute misery that can come about as much as possible? You showing your P&L?
Yeah, I mean, I figure we might as well, right? I mean, so this is what happened, okay? So this is like two accounts in one, and I'm trying to do it so you guys won't see my account number or whatever. Guys, everybody, let me know if you can see the screen. You should be able to zoom. So just zoom in. I know it's a huge ass freaking screen, but zoom in. You should be able to see the top of this. Let me know if you can see all this shit. Make sure you zoom in though so you can see it. So this is two accounts. The total account balance was like 1.1 over here. I lost about 150, 200 right here, and then you can see me right back up here at 1.17, all this kind of stuff. So, again, that's it. That's it in real time right there.
Right. Word. All right. I'm sure that you guys have a lot of questions. And we've gotten some really good ones so far in the round. So I don't need to show my screen yet. Yeah, keep dropping them in here, guys. We'll jump into a Q&A here in a second. We got some good questions so far. Yeah, good stuff on this so far. So the whole reason we're doing this lead up, this series, is because we are launching the next master course, which starts on August 12th. I'm sure you guys might know a lot about it at this point, but it is our flagship educational experience. Lucci is doing these now maybe 3 times a year, and it's probably even less frequent than that.
We're doing them a lot less. We are doing them a lot less
So if you want to do it live, if you want to be in there with Lucci, live in there with Ranchero, who is our guest educator for this time around, and he helped us out last time too. He's going to become a much bigger part of everything we're doing here. Highly suggest you get involved. So it's 12 live classes with Lucci, and then 4 evening classes, 4 live tape reading sessions. You can see exactly what he sees on his screen, watch him trade and watch him dictate the tape. You get access to the steam room for for a month. You get access to Ranchero's classes, as I just talked about. So you get his strategy of establishing long-term positions and options, and then trading around those in swing trading and day trading around those to really collect on the volatility that's moving that position around as you sort of establish that longer-term gain potential. There's a ton that you pick up in this. And
once you start learning like how to mess with options, there's going to be levels that you get to in your options career, or equities, or you're trading futures or whatever. There's ways to level up, and there's ways to save yourself from certain situations, certain scenarios, which are they become very important to your career as a trader. So again, we see a lot of stuff. We see the traders that come in with the smaller accounts, they want to just hit the lotto tickets. We see the traders that come in with the larger accounts, they want to stick around for a little bit. They want to really dive into research and all that kind of stuff. So again, you can take depending on your strategy, depending on what you're looking for. We see the part-time traders coming in all the time as well, those who have the full-time jobs. So we see a lot of different types of traders. Ranchero has brought in a good component of how do you continue leveling up, which is what him and I do on a regular basis. Because if we're going to stick around for the next 10 years and still keep our minds correct, keep our minds in a good place while making 7 figures, try to make 8 figures, we need some skills here. We need some skills. We got to work together. We got to figure shit out. We got to attack things from different ways than we've always been doing, especially ways that haven't been fucking working.
Right. Can you guys see my screen here? I got the 3LT Playbook.com pulled up. So if you guys haven't been through this, you should absolutely go through the 3LT Playbook. It's free. It's really dope. Text and videos combined, taking you through the 3 laws of trading that Lucci put together. You can check it out at 3LTplaybook.com up here. And if you're interested in joining the master course, once you get to the end of the playbook, you can get the steepest discount that we offer on the master course. So check that out. Absolutely, it's worth checking out. And if you really want to know everything that you have to know in order to have a real shot at trading, whether you're trying to go full-time, whether you're trying to go professional, whether you're trying to do this, on the side alongside your main job, I can absolutely say that the master course is the most comprehensive education you're going to get in the markets. And the question after that is just, are you up to it? Are you up to doing the work? Are you up to really taking on the challenges that you need to take on that are inevitably in front of you? The question is just, do you understand them, and do you understand how to navigate them? When you take the course or not, those things are going to be in front of you.
Yeah, and I've seen so many people take the law number 1 very seriously, extremely seriously. Like, dude, I want to know I want to know everything there is to about the markets. Tell me everything there is to learn about level 2. Tell me everything there is to learn about how to paint the chart with 180 different colored pencils that you bought at fucking Walmart. Like, there's tons of I see that all the time. And then when it comes to learning yourself and then understanding your mentality, people are like, what? You mean I gotta deal with this? I gotta do this work? You mean I gotta deal with this? No fucking way, man. I can't do that. You can't. What are you kidding me?
I mean, and there are people, listen, most people who come into the course, like, learn everything that we teach them, and they apply it and they customize it in the way that works for them. And that's the goal of the course. But there are people occasionally who come in and they're like, thank you for showing me really what it takes. I'm not going to do this.
100%. We're those guys. We're those guys. Yeah. We are those guys. So again, anybody who's on the fence or whatever, that, you know, if that's what you're looking for, and that, by the way, it's that same instinct. It's that same gut instinct. Like, you know, you fucking need it, but you're like, your mind is like, maybe I can figure it out myself, and maybe you can, and maybe you know, it'll trick you out of it. You know what I mean? So, you know, if your instinct is up there, you know, hit the fucking button. Go to that 3LT playbook. Questions. Let's start taking some questions here. This one's a good one from Wade here. I really want to answer this one. Let's do this one first.
Get it, yeah.
So Wade here is saying, I have fear of trading options, small account size, right? Have traded Forex. Now I'm trading equities, have recently begun following SL and learning level 2 from YouTube. And the ironic thing about this, and again, it's because this whole world of the small account size, which again, we all started at. I started with $5 grand back in 2006. You know what I mean? Like, I had to figure it out. Everybody has to figure it out. Forex will give you, the standard lot size in Forex is 100,000 lots, Charlie. Like, I don't know if you knew this, but it's 100,000, okay? And in stocks, it's 100. It's a fucking 100. So Forex immediately trump options by far. And when it comes to leverage, when it comes to how much leverage is being offered to you. So anybody who's hopping in on a Forex platform with $500 or $1,000 and being told that, you know, they can make $500 a day or $1,000 a day with $1,000, yeah, but you're gonna lose $1,000 in one fucking trade, possibly even more if you don't, you know what I mean? If you don't have this right. Anyway, so it's even quicker. You're gonna lose your money even quicker. You wanna know why Forex is so liquid? It's trading water. You know what I'm saying? It's so easy. It's just bing, I'm in with all my money. Bing, oh shit, I lost all my money, and it happened like that. Like, that's how I keep coming back to the story of Puerto Rico, what they're doing to sell Forex in Puerto Rico. And again, not to shit on these firms out there that are trying to make money, but actually fuck that. Yes, to shit on them, because again, they don't tell you, they don't explicitly tell you what the risks of yourself are, what the risk of not knowing the knowledge, what the risks are completely. They don't give you any of the horror stories. In Puerto Rico, they'll have packed conferences of thousands of people who come from places, towns in Puerto Rico where the mean income is like 12 grand, 13 grand, 14 grand. And they'll tell them that if you're not making money from your phone, it's not a smartphone, it's a dumb phone. That's the game. That's the gimmick right there. You know what I'm saying? That's here. You know, if you ain't making money from, and they're telling people who, you know, they're teaching people about the basics of technical analysis. They're teaching people, just like when crypto came out. When crypto came out, it breathed new life into technical analysis. It was like, oh my God, we have a new 100,000 people that want the information on technical analysis.
Well, I've been seen all the free YouTube shit that's out there saying the same thing already, because they're not using the same search terms.
Exactly.
They're looking for Bitcoin and not equity.
Exactly. So it became like a whole new business for so many people. And I get it. There's always a hustle in there. There's always all that kind of stuff, you know, but you know, the ones who are telling you all this kind of stuff, the ones who are trying to get you to trade all this stuff, especially to buy services or whatever, like, there's a game in everything, man. There's a fucking game in everything, bro.
And Wade, like, we have a lot of people who come in to the course who, you know, have 2,500, $5 grand in their account, you know, and you can, I'm not saying you can do everything. Like, that's one of the things that we teach you in the course is strategies for all different risk profiles or account sizes. Right. You're not going to be able to write in the exact same way that Lucci writes with $1 million account, but we're not, you know, the course isn't just geared towards people who have, you know, the account size that Lucci has. That would be a much smaller audience. So
100%. So Wade, my advice to you, bro, is that it's natural to have fear. It's normal to have fear. You even had fear when you started trading Forex in the first fucking place. This is just another thing here this is just another tool. You know, level 2 is just another tool. All these things are tools. Consider this all law number 1. Okay, and that's why we built the playbook here. All that shit is law number one. Once you get all that stuff out of the way, I mean, you'll realize 90% of this shit anyway is right up here.
This is a good Bob Walker. Monthly shipments of ayahuasca included. Not yet, but give us a couple years. We might be doing something on that front.
Yes. Yeah.
Andrew says, how are you practicing non-attachment to money and executing trades when the market sets you up at the same time? How are you, okay, so it's like, how are you trading and executing as you trade, but also practicing non-attachment? So I guess maybe the question is based around like, yeah, go ahead.
But that's what those two examples were for. It's like, how are you present and not attached? That's like the goal that all of us are trying to get to. And that's like the sweet spot, right? How can you be present and give a shit, but without any attachment to the outcome whatsoever? You know what I mean?
That is the art, that is the science. I mean,
that's it. That's it right there. You know, that's the thing that people search for their whole fucking lives, or even those who are trying to. You know, they gotta work. They gotta put in a lot of mental work. Like I've put in a good amount of mental work. And forget about ayahuasca, man. Like I've been having these conversations with Charlie since we fucking met each other. You know what I mean? So maybe it didn't manifest in the way that ayahuasca was able to do it, or you know, other things were able to do it, but this is your test in life, Andrew. This is your test in fucking life. You know what I mean? If you want to live a passive, it's not passive, a peaceful, you know, if you want to have a peaceful, a peaceful existence where it's like, okay, you know, you can have a great time with somebody in a relationship, but just always know in your heart that, hey, you know what? If they leave you, you're gonna be okay. You're good. Everything's gonna be okay. You know, where we tend to forget. We tend to not even remember that shit. We just think in the heat of the moment, it's like, oh my God, this is being taken away from me. I gotta fight to get it back. I don't even know why the fuck I'm fighting for this shit. You know what I mean? Why would I want to fight when this person doesn't even want to fucking be here in the first place? You know, but it sounds so easy to say. It's another fucking thing to do. So Andrew, this is literally your test in life right here, man.
It's all of our tests. Chase, was there a time when you questioned the viability of a continued career in trading, and how did you get through that?
Is he serious, bro? Is he serious, bro? How many times have y'all wanted to quit? How many times have y'all wanted to quit? Come on. Shit, I probably thought I wanted to quit yesterday, man. I think I wanted to quit yesterday. And I wanted to make memes, man. I still want to make memes for a living, bro. I still think I'd be the greatest meme maker on the planet, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to trade anymore. I got enough money. Let me go make memes for a little bit, you know?
You'd be pretty good at that.
I'd be pretty good, man. I'm telling you. So anyways, you know, to answer this question, of course, I have always questioned it. When we came back from New York with our fucking tails between our legs after a bunch of freaking losses and failures, you know, I didn't want to do this shit again. I didn't even think I could do this shit again. You know, because I wasn't even confident. I wasn't confident in myself. I lost all that shit. I wasn't confident in what I was doing. I had the pressures of the world on me, and I thought I was a complete freaking failure, and I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do. So that's happened to me several times. It's happened to Charlie in its own ways several different times. It's happened to you guys several different times. You know, but again, those were meant to happen. Like, we often forget that shit too. There was lessons there and all this shit. Those were meant to happen. All that shit was meant to happen, you know, because I didn't have the right energy. Or I was doing things for the wrong reason. And when you're doing shit for the wrong reason, maybe at the time you're like, you know, I know exactly what I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. But if things aren't aligned, if you yourself aren't aligned with your purpose, why you're doing these things, eventually, you know, that train's never late, baby. That Chris Rock used to say it all the time. That train's never late, baby.
That's a great answer.
How did I get through? Chase also had how did you get through? And by the way, this is obviously an issue that a lot of you guys are dealing with right now, because we had a Garrett, you see Garrett right here, how did you gain your confidence? So, dude, It's attachment. Again, it's attachment. It's like you have to, I had to beat myself up so much. There was no more self-loathing that I could do. And I had attachment to where I should be in life. I had attachment to the things that I should have. I had attachment to how much money I should have. I had attachment to what I could do, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It's only until you bury all of that shit and it's all worked out of your system that you can get your confidence back, you can start over, and you can realize like, oh shit, I do know what the fuck I'm doing. I forgot. I just chose to look at life in this one type of vision, and I just kept beating myself up about it. So it sounds simple. All you'd have to do is just stop beating yourself up about it, and then you get your confidence back. But I'd leave this one to Charlie here.
I mean, the way that you generate confidence is through experience, right? It's through doing something and having a positive outcome from it, right? And what Lucci's saying is you have to give yourself the space in order to make attempts, to make mistakes, to actually go do it. When your fist is so clenched on perfection, on a certain outcome, on I can't lose. If I lose, I'm a fucking loser and I won't be able to pay this bill and blah, 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 blah. Then you give yourself no runway. You can't make mistakes. And so then you can't accrue experience. And if you can't accrue experience, you can't accrue confidence. So
there was this guy in India, Charlie, and to everybody else. There's this guy in India who owned the largest coffee chain in India. I forget what it's freaking called, but you guys can look this shit up. He was in the journal. It was in the journal the other day. And this guy wanted to beat Starbucks. He wanted to beat Dunkin' Donuts. He wanted to beat all the other chains out there, right? And I think he was pushing 50 or something like that. And there was some debt on the books. There was some bad decisions that he made, obviously because he was motivated by what? I have to fucking be as quick. I have to be as good as they were. So they rolled into new stores so fucking quickly that they couldn't support it. He hit a wall. And this fucking guy killed himself, Charlie. This guy killed himself. And he left a suicide note. And you know what the fucking note said? It said, I'm sorry I couldn't take this business to where I wanted it to go. That's what it fucking said, bro.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, and, Lucci and I have talked about this stuff in private before. I mean, this shit gets real, guys. I'm sure there are people who are in this room trading, from entrepreneurship through other struggles. Like we talk about, you want to have a sense of balance. You don't want to be miserable trading, but this shit can ruin your life too if you let it. It can ruin your life. And that example is case in point. I mean, whether you're an entrepreneur or a trader, you're in business, whatever, if you get so attached to certain outcomes, and Lucci and I have been at points, both of us, where we were like, this, my life is ruined, and you come back from that. And again, that comes back to finding a positive story and coming back. But we also know we never want to be back there again. It's a real risk. And you have to take that into account. You can't just blindly go into this and live an unexamined life, an unexamined path into trading, because it can fuck you up in a real way.
Yeah, and when you're always in the heat of the moment, and Charlie, I'm sure you would agree to this, like we always make it bigger than what it is. Like Charlie, correct, right? Like we always make it, our emotions and our thoughts make it so much bigger than it is. So your mind is telling you you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. And then your body starts to believe it, right? So now you're growing man boobs. You got fucking shit, you got meatball stains all up on here, right? Your whole shit just starts to believe this mind, which is just over exaggerating and telling you you're a piece of shit, but you're really not. You know what the fuck you're doing. There's some shit you got to figure out, and then that's really it. But it took me years sometimes to get back to a confident thing, and that's why this time around I've been so much more aggressive on the mental side of things. And we've been so much more aggressive about creating the playbook, about going about our education a little bit differently, and going about who we represent to the trading community a lot differently. Because Guys, you can figure out how to trade tomorrow, man. If you don't know how to trade, you can figure that shit out tomorrow. If you put the effort in, it's there. All the resources are fucking online already for you. You can figure the shit out yourself. You don't need anybody here technically to do
Besides
this.
tape.
Besides tape, yeah. Tape is
Yeah, I was
nowhere.
gonna say, I don't think you can actually
get
tape anywhere. Yeah.
You know, you can't get this stuff, but somebody is always talking about all this shit, right? You can do all this stuff. So me and Charlie were just like, dude, let's be about the real, let's be about the real shit. Let's be about the stuff that nobody's talking about, but it happens to mean everything to what we're doing as far as a career, what we've chosen for a career, and how we can put the best energy out there to be able to do it. And that means handling your fucking other life, which is the life outside of trading, which, by the way, is the most important freaking part of this whole thing.
The whole point of doing it in the first place.
The whole point, this is the whole point you're doing this shit, So again, we go through it. Yeah. We go through it a lot in the master course. We got some great questions here. Let's take a couple more, man. Charlie, let's take a couple more here.
Yeah, let's do like 2 more. And the rest of that, you guys, if you want these questions answered, you can email me, charlie@lucci.com. Maybe we'll be able to get Lucci on here to answer one, but get in the master course if you really want access to this stuff in a deeper level. Tim, this is a great question from Tim. Yeah, Lucci, can you give the room one small thing you do to reset during the trading day?
For me now, it's breathe. For me now, it's breathe, Charlie. Like, I'm able to be, before it was, you have to leave. You have to forget about the market, which, by the way, was fucking impossible. Somebody would tell me, oh, go take a walk. I'd be like, go fucking take a walk yourself, man. Get the fuck out of here. I ain't taking no damn walk. The walk ain't gonna help me. I was always that guy. I would fight everything. Even us telling you right now, like, what you should do, like, y'all, if you were me, y'all would be like, fuck this guy, man. I ain't doing none of this shit. You know what I mean? Because that's just how we play the game, right? We play the game in a fight manner. If I took a loss, I got to make that shit back. How is leaving going to solve that problem? If my problem is I got to make the shit back, how the fuck is leaving going to help me with that fucking problem? That's how I think, or how I did think. And you do this thing repetitively, and you realize, like, this is a problem. This is a problem. Clearly, I can't solve it.
I keep on ending up in the same fucking place that I hate.
Clearly, staying is also a problem. So there's got to be something going on here. So I've evolved to being able to breathe. Now I'll just literally close my eyes. I'll breathe like 3 times. I'll open my eyes. I'll be like, shit. All right, fine. I lost 20 grand. Here's BYND right here for another runner-up. Let's go. Let's take this for a swing. Let's take this, and I'll start playing around again. I'll start finding something. But the point is, I'm playing around, not with the attachment still on me of the shit that just happened, And again, I've gotten good at this over the experience time. So, my word of advice, as Tim is saying, for the rest of you guys, and you guys could be at so many different points in your trading career. Take a fucking walk.
That's kind of genius and fucked up at the same time. That's awesome.
Take a walk, baby.
And this is something that we're going to be doing more in the master course too. Is I'm going to be teaching and providing information around some of the tools that are out there, right? Like, some of you guys might know about binaural frequencies, binaural meditation techniques. There's box breathing, which is a simple way to calm down your nervous system, pretty much exactly what Lucci was talking about, just a specific technique. Like, we're going to teach you some of the stuff. We're going to give you guys some of the tools so that you can experiment with it. And all these things don't work for everybody, but if you have them all in front of you, you can try out what works, what doesn't, keep what works, throw out the rest, and you'll be a lot better off. So, all right, let's do one more.
Yeah, let's do one more.
Let's see.
Moon Couch kind of went a little bit. It was just kind of expanding on a previous question.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we hit that pretty deep. All right, this is a good one from a Oh, I hope I know I'm mispronouncing your name, but I'm sorry. How to overcome the anger that I've not been able to find a profitable strategy in the past 2 years.
I mean, you said it right there in the question. Look at your question. Look at the question and mind the question for the emotion. What's the first emotion you see? Everybody else, how to overcome the anger that I have not been able to find a profitable strategy the past 2 years. You said it right there. You're angry. I mean, once you're angry, if you're angry about it, that you haven't been able to find a profitable strategy, what does this tell me? This tells me there's a deep expectation that you should have found a profitable strategy by now, which is the thing that's making you fucking angry. And then the anger itself is stopping you from giving anything even time. I would imagine that even if a profitable strategy does drop into your lap, you're too angry to do anything about it. You're already looking at it as, this shit ain't gonna work. This shit is not gonna work. It's probably just like every other strategy I've tried in the past 2 fucking years. So now, like, and again, like, I'm assuming all of this just from the question that you've thrown out there, but you know, let me know. Am I on the right track here? I would venture to say I am here, Charlie. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, man. I mean, absolutely. It's like getting in touch with your anger, getting in touch with the source of it. Anger is, an outcome that you do not like, and that differs from your expectations, that you do not like or that threatens you, right? And so that comes down to, what's the story you're telling yourself? What are your expectations? Do you feel like the market owes you something? Do you feel like you have to be a certain thing in order to, have self-acceptance? Like, look at those things.
Yo, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave y'all with this, and then we're gonna cut this shit out. Y'all think the answers to these questions are right here in front of your fucking trading screens? That's law number 3 right here. Law number 3 is us we'll just whack you right across the head and be like, the answers you're looking for cannot be found anywhere on your fucking trading screen. You're angry about a strategy. Okay, let me sit here in front of my Fidelity Active Trader and try to angrily find a strategy that works for me. Or, so, some of you guys are talking about confidence. Okay, how do you guys find the confidence? You're like, okay, let me just get a winning trade here, and then maybe it'll give me my fucking confidence back. And then, I could keep going. I could keep going. But you guys know where this ends. It's like Trinity when in the first Matrix, where Neo was going to jump out the fucking car because he didn't want that damn machine taking the bug out or something. And Trinity was like, stop. And then they panned out to the road. They panned out to the road with the rain all coming down. And he's like, why? Because you've been down that road before.
Down that road before, Neo.
He looks back at her. He's like, I'm in love with you, bitch. Let's do anything that you want to do, anything that you want me to do, I will do right now. I am in love with you.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that you like, people change for 2 reasons. A very wise person taught me this when I was younger. People change for 2 reasons. One, because they're actually really smart. And most of us, myself included, are not smart enough to just change our behavior outside of number 2. Number 2 is because they're tired. And because they're tired of dealing with the same pain and dealing with being in the same position over and over and over. And I think one of the best things that you can do is get in touch with what you are tired of, with what you are fatigued by. And that, I'm guessing by your question, is probably anger. And the more you get in touch with that and understand that, the more you will be able to point at that place and be like, I don't want to be there. And you will understand things that take you there, and you will be able to not take those paths.
Boom. Let's end it right there, guys. You guys know what to do. You guys know what to do. Hit the 3LT Playbook. We start next Monday. I know we're going to see you guys in there. All right. So hit up Charlie for the details. You guys know what to do.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Thanks for coming.